Going live. Let's see if we're working here. Just make an adjustment. And then we'll see if we're live. There we go. All right, that looks pretty good. All right, let's see if we're working. You can let me know where you're from. As usual, if you have any questions, let me know. We'll make sure we're live, and then we'll erase the board and get started. All right, YouTube, fire up. Let's go. All right, we're working. I am Drew Badger, the founder of EnglishAnyone.com and the English Fluency Guide. Welcome to another live video here on YouTube. Today we're going to, as always, help you get more fluent, but I wanted to focus on just one word and help you really understand it very well like a native, and hopefully this should give you a really good example of how to understand a language and that we really actually become fluent by understanding a language better, not by just taking a word and repeating it again and again. Let me erase the board. Nice to see everybody out there. Hopefully you're enjoying your, well, it's Monday morning for me, I guess Sunday evening if you're in the States or on that side of the world. Make sure I think we're looking good. All right. I will keep my eye on chat if anybody has any questions as usual, but let's get into it. So I know we always have new people who join us, so I wanted to make very clear at the beginning the difference between what we do on this channel and what people typically do for helping people learn languages. And this is us learning English as a first language, and so I'm just going to contrast this very quickly, and then I'll just give you, this whole video will be an example of that. So the typical way that people learn a language is learning it through their native language. And if they have any questions about that, usually they just ask and they talk with the teacher in that native language and try to get lots of examples of it. But if you can, you should be learning everything in English, and I'm going to give you an example of that with just one word in this video. And so another thing I'd like to prove is that we actually get fluent one thing at a time as we understand it better. And this is why you might understand and feel confident speaking about some things, but not feeling confident about others. So that's the English as a second language way, and what we do here is learning English as a first language. And so we really want to understand things the same way natives do, and that means understanding English all in English. All right, it's pretty simple. So we'll give you an example of that in this video. So today we're talking about the word set. I just wanted to give a very simple word just to show you how simple and easy this is, but also to show you that you really can go deep with your understanding of a word, even if it's something simple like this. So even if you think you know the word or you've learned it before, whatever, hopefully I'll give you some examples that really help you understand it better. The last thing I'll explain before we get into this lesson talking about the word is that there are different levels of understanding vocabulary. So as an example, you can begin by getting exposed to a language, and that just means you're listening to it a little bit. Maybe you don't quite understand what's happening, but you're hearing the language somewhere, like you're at an airport or something. You just hear some people using the language, but maybe it's not very clear. You know it's English or whatever that language, but you're not really feeling very confident about it. The next level up from that is awareness, and this means you actually recognize the information, but maybe you don't feel very confident using it. And then obviously we have ownership at the top level, and that means you really understand something without a doubt. And the doubt is really the thing that as we destroy that doubt, that's what enables us to speak. So if you still feel nervous or you have any kind of doubt about communication, whether it's just understanding a word or how to use it or the pronunciation of that word, that's what's going to stop you from speaking. So as you understand a word better, you naturally remove the doubt and you start wanting to use the word because you feel confident about saying it. All right. Hopefully that makes sense. But I want to give an example of how this works in the video. So again, EFL is helping you understand the language in the language, and ESL is typically taking like a word, whatever that word is in your native language, and then we have the word in English like set. But with the English as a fluent, or excuse me, as a first language way, we really want to give you lots of examples so you understand what I call a core meaning of a word. And a word, even a word like set, might have various meanings. So we might have probably, like sunset, like something is going down, which is a little bit different from maybe a meaning of set, like we have a set of markers. So I have maybe like blue, red, and black. So this is a set of markers together. So this is just one marker, but here we have a group of them together, and there's some connection between those things. So you will find times where we have a word, actually many times we have a word, and it might have different core meanings. And so it's important to focus on one, really understand that, and then maybe you hear other meanings, and that way you can easily understand different meanings of a word. But the point is not to take a word and then learn every use of it. It's more to understand that particular use for a particular situation. That's the same way natives learn the language. And again, that's why we call it learning English as a first language. So here we have like the kind of word, whatever that is in your native language, and then you learn the English word for that. Maybe you get a translation or a definition, and you get some maybe examples of the word, but we want to do this in kind of the opposite way when we're learning English as a first language, because typically, again, you hear something, you get exposed to the language, and then we want to become more aware. We really want to recognize and feel confident, and then finally we own that word when we really know we can use that thing confidently without a doubt. All right? So you can kind of imagine that like the core meaning is here, and as we get more examples of a word, that really helps us understand the core meaning, and we really discover the meaning of the word that way. All right. So I just gave you an example before, something very simple, like we have a set. So I'll just put this example, make sure we can fit this over here, like a set of markers. So here we have a set of markers, and we want to, you can actually see this difference here, like one marker by itself versus a set of these things. Or I could have a set of really anything where we have maybe a set of, like a set of clothes. So it's not just a hat or just a shirt or whatever, I have a whole set. All right, so a hat and like the pants or whatever and the shirt, that's a set together. And so as you get more examples of that, you start to understand, okay, like a set is like a group of something. We put something together, all right? So it's you can think about a set of food in the same way. So maybe we go to a restaurant and they have a set menu. So we have maybe like a drink, and then we have some kind of dish, and that comes with this extra thing over here. So that's a set altogether. So it doesn't just mean like three of the same thing. It's a group of something where there's a connection between that thing, okay? So children understand this is a very basic understanding of the word set, but we can take this to a higher level as we get more examples. So far we've got this kind of one example here of a few different things together, okay? So we have a set of something. So when you think about what a set is, it's like something chosen, something that people picked, or there's a connection between those things in some way. Again, I'm trying to give you some varied examples just so you understand it's not just like three random things together, like here's a marker and here's a bottle and here's an eraser. There's some kind of connection that we're deciding about that. So okay, look, it's a set of markers or a set of food or a set of silverware. So silverware. So silverware would be maybe, these aren't the exact things, but a spoon, a knife, and a fork. So that's a set. Or we might have a place setting. So a place set, where we're going to have you're sitting at a table, you have your spoon or your, let's see, like a fork and a spoon and a knife over here. I'm going to draw these really badly. You get the idea. But we have a plate, and this is one person's setting, a setting like that, like a place setting. Okay, so we have a place setting. And all of these, it's the same basic idea of there's something we understand, like what is the connection between all these things. They're working together for kind of one purpose or whatever. All right, so let's look at some other examples of set, and maybe you can write some of these in the chat if you think about them as well, some other ways that you've heard set maybe in your daily life. I'm sure you've heard of many of them, even if you don't recall them all. I've got some hints in the comment section below this video, or actually in the description below this video. It will be in the comment section later, but you can see these. So set down, it's a little bit, it's a different, and set like a phrasal verb. Yeah, so we're going to get to maybe phrasal verbs in a moment. I'm trying to take this one step at a time, the same way children would understand this. So we could have something like set an alarm, to set an alarm, or to set a watch, or to set a time. Now here, it's a kind of similar idea of having a group of 3 things or a group of 4 things or something. We're deciding on something and typically preparing it for something else. And so you can see there's a little bit of a connection there that helps us understand this core meaning of setting something as well. So here we have a physical set, but we also have a set like, ooh, I'm going to set something. So I'm going to prepare it, or I'm going to put it where I want it to, so that it's going to be prepared for some purpose. So the same thing if I want to set an alarm. So maybe before I go to sleep at night, I set my alarm to make sure tomorrow or the next day I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, to set my alarm. I can also set a watch. So again, I'm taking something like I'm going to set a watch and set it to where it should be, and maybe it's not the correct time and I want to turn the hands of the clock, or I need to do it with maybe pushing buttons on a digital clock and set the time that way. So if I have if I buy a new clock, it has no batteries in it, then I can have a collection of that in the same way. Okay? So we have a set something, and then we can also talk about how we set something. So we have a setting an alarm, setting a watch, setting a time. Okay? Set a target, set aside. Yes, we've got some interesting examples in the chat. Very good. All right. And you see, as we get these, we're trying to think more like a native, which is how do we connect these different things in our mind? And they might not all be connected. Again, you can have many core meanings of a particular verb or a particular word, whatever. But typically, if you think more like a native, you will get more examples of things where you think of, oh, there's actually a connection between these things. And when you make a connection in English, by realizing or discovering or just, seeing that connection between these things, that makes you more fluent in the word. Okay? Setting a goal, another good example. Okay? And so all of these, when you think about setting something, we're thinking about preparing it or choosing something, deciding something. So there is a connection between a set of markers and setting an alarm. Okay? Hopefully you guys are getting this. Let me go back and check chat, make sure we're all on the same page here. And again, I do have in the description below this video, you can look at some more examples. I might not have time to get through all of them, but making sure we're getting all of these here. So I'll keep these up here and check chat. Let's see. All right, I think I did see some good examples over here. Let me take a look. All right, so we did have some good mornings. I'm going to skip over those. I want to get right to the lesson, but it's nice to see everybody here. All right, and Olympia says, forgive me. And it says, good morning over there. Nice to see you. And Ravian from India as well. Hello. I love Indian music. Professor, do you know how much meaning has set? So again, there are different meanings of the word set, and what I mentioned at the beginning of this video is that I don't want you to take a word and try to remember every meaning of that word. We want to focus on a particular use. And so instead of doing like the typical way where people would learn a second language where they get a word in their native language and then translate that into the word in English, we really want to understand the word in English so we can feel more confident about using it. All right. And we become confident about meanings of words. And even though there might be different meanings of words, we focus on one at a time. We really try to understand that thing well. And that way we can learn, even if we have a new thing like, oh, sunset, like the sun is going down. It's a little bit different from setting a watch or setting a time or setting a goal. All right. So I don't want you to feel surprised about that. It's a natural thing for words to have multiple meanings. So people will often ask me, how we should be learning words, and I want to be clear, you should be getting lots of examples of words, but these should all have the same kind of meaning. All right, you don't want to confuse yourself by looking at too many different meanings of a word at the same time. So we just want to understand how these different things are all connected in the same way. So we might have a set of markers in the same way that we have a set, like a goal, like that. So we're choosing something, and we can imagine more what that core meaning of a word might be, but there could be many core meanings of a word. All right. So just to be clear about that, but good examples so far that I'm seeing from people, and you guys are even going faster than I am. All right, let's see. And yes, speak in that particular situation. It helps to get fluent. Yes, that's the whole point. So what does it mean, ESL and EFL? You should go back, Dina, and watch the beginning of this, but basically the simple idea is learning English as a second language or learning English as a first language. So what we do in these videos is we learn English as a first language. That means you're learning it all in English, and you're trying to learn the words the same way a native would, rather than trying to study rules or memorize explanations or definitions. All right. So typically a native child would get examples like, oh, like I have a set of markers or a set of sheets. So I have like a pillowcase and the sheets and the blanket. It's one set. They all have the same, I don't know, Star Wars characters or something on them or whatever. But they get the idea, like it's not just a pillowcase by itself, it's part of something else. And so we can take that same idea and we see how there is a connection between, look at that, like I'm setting an alarm or setting a watch or setting a time. I'm making something, kind of preparing it to be used for something, and it becomes a part of something else in that way. All right. All right, let's see here. But again, if you guys, I know some people are always excited about like jumping ahead. You can look in the description below this video and see more examples already. All right, let's see. Set down. Yeah, so another similar kind of thing. If we have like to put something down, we can set something down as well. So when we think about setting something down, it's the same kind of idea. So to set down. So I'm taking something and I'm preparing it for something else. Or I could set something like in set something in a box, or set something in a different way where we're talking about more, whatever that thing is. I could set something in something else. I could set something on something else, but I'm preparing it just like I'm setting a watch or setting a time or setting a goal. All right, so I'm doing something, getting it ready typically for something else, to set something like that. And so a place setting, we're getting that ready for the person who would eat there. Or we have a set of markers, so maybe we can, use those for writing or whatever. But that's the general meaning of this core meaning of set. All right, let's see, we have a set of numbers. Yep, same idea. Set aside, set a target. So the same thing, we could set down. Another idea here, set aside. So if I have something here physically, I could I don't want to use the marker or I don't want to use this eraser right now. I'm going to set it aside for now. So I'll put it to the side. I'm going to put it in a different place to set something aside. Now I could also do the same thing with money. Let's say we can imagine instead of markers, I'm holding some money over here. So let's just make this clear for people. Let's say I've got some money here. And I have a little bit of extra money, but I don't want to use that now, so I'm going to set that money aside to use it later. Maybe I put it in a bank or something like that. I put it in a shoe box at home. I'm going to set that aside. So again, the same idea, all these things, set an alarm, set a watch, set time, set a goal to make sure we're doing something typically for whatever that is. We're preparing for something in the future like that. Okay? lots of good examples. All right, and set your phone. You can talk about like setting up is a similar kind of thing, set up. But this is where you're, again, like preparing something, but you're trying to fix it. So we don't say set up an alarm, we just say set alarm. And if you buy a phone, usually the first time you use it, you have to set up the phone. That means it's a little bit different, like you're kind of putting it with maybe the controls or the settings that you would like to have, okay? So it's a similar idea, but again, not every use of set is going to have this like particular core meaning. All right, look at that. Lots of good questions over here. Lots of good. So again, we have set of numbers to set someone free. Yes, that's the same kind of idea. Set a meeting room. So that one, if we want to like choose a particular place where people will have a meeting, or set the table. Very good. I haven't captions. Yes, so this is a live video. You're not going to get captions automatically by Google, but usually they are available a day later. So after the video is up, you can get the captions later. Brian says, chocolate getting in the bottom of my belly. Brazil setting on this live. Yes, so we have lots of people from Brazil. Usually we have quite a few Brazilians. Demir, good for you, teacher. Where are you teaching from? I'm in Nagasaki, Japan. We can say word set is a collection of items like a set of tools, set of books, set of rules. Yes. So again, we take that same meaning of a set of something, and we can also talk about preparing something in a similar way. All right. I'm trying to get you to think about the word more like a native by giving you all of these examples, which is different from just taking a word and then translating that from your native language. So you're basically trying to give your brain so many examples that it just has to understand it in English, and that's how you develop fluency. All right, so you develop fluency as you understand something better. Okay. All right, let's continue here. Let's see, VNCZ, please bring more live lessons like that. Don't just talk about how to study correctly. So we have lots of those videos already, and I try to, like, even in videos where I'm explaining what EFL is, and again, we have lots of new people who join us all the time, so I like to give a little bit of explanation at least about what it is. But if you find this kind of video helpful, where I do like a deep dive into understanding things, maybe I will do more of them. So it's really up to you what people are interested in. If lots of people watch this, I will probably make more of these. All right, good evening. Greetings from Colombia. Let's see, State of Rio. I'm a huge fan of this teacher. How about you? Welcome to the program. Hi, Drew. I set up my new phone or computer. Yep, that's the same kind of idea. Thank God I'm here to learn to overcome my fears in front of multitudes. Yes, so typically when people have fears about speaking English, it's because they're uncertain. They have doubts about the pronunciation or the vocabulary or whatever. So as you get more examples, as you understand the language better, you really feel more confident about using it, okay? So we don't want to try to learn a whole bunch of words and not understand them very well. We want to really take something, understand it well, and then as we do that, then we can really accelerate our learning, because we can take one thing that we understand well, and then we can start using that to understand other things even faster. All right, I'm a teacher of English for the oil and gas industry. Well, that's interesting. Hello, author is pretty cool, speaking in London language. Let's see, set a girl. I don't know what that would mean. I mean, like, to set a girl. It's not British English. Yes, I don't know if you're talking about me or whatever, but no, I speak American English. I can kind of pretend to have a British accent, but I am not British. Like to get set up in my personal computer. Yes, that's the same kind of idea. So I set that girl. I don't know what you're talking about. You set that girl. Demir says, you are the best. Let's see. The beautiful ones settling in here. There you go. Abo says, hi, Juju. Thank you so much for your efforts. In fact, the multitude meanings of a word are huge challenges to understand the native speakers. Are there any books that can help? Well, it's not really the way a book like that would work, and I don't know if there are books like this, but you would have to have, it would be like a dictionary, but it would have tons of actual examples of all of that different vocabulary. So if you go to Google and you just say, like, what is the definition of set? It's going to give you a whole bunch of different uses, and some of them won't have any connection at all, or it doesn't seem like there's an obvious connection between those. And when you're trying to learn like all of the definitions, a child doesn't really learn the language that way. I think I'll make a video about more about the kind of puzzle way that a child learns the language. But a child will take a word and they just learn the word set, for example, when they talk about a set of markers or a set of silverware or a set of baseball cards or something, a set of clothes. So maybe someone's mother says, yes, like your clothes, I have a set of clothes for you. It's a hat and a shirt and pants. So maybe that's like a uniform. So you have a set of clothing that you wear. So as a child hears all of those examples, they understand, oh, a set is like a group of something. But then they also start hearing examples like setting something by using it as a verb, where we're going to take something and like put these things together. So I can like set these together using this, excuse me, as a verb. Right? But typically when children are learning these examples, they don't hear the word set and then ask their parents for every use of the word set. All right. So I want you, like as an adult learner, this is typically what people want, and this is why most videos about like learning languages will have this kind of content in it. They will say, okay, here's every use of the word set. But you don't really remember what you learned from those videos. They're typically not giving you enough examples to help you feel confident about all of those. So it's much better to focus on one, understand it well, and then you move on to something else. Okay? So that was kind of a long explanation, but the basic idea is that children don't learn their native language by trying to get every example of something. And they start piecing it together as they get more examples of a related thing. And then if they hear a different usage of the word, then they think, oh, I can actually use this word also to talk about something else. Okay? So we're not talking about just one word and having only one meaning, because maybe some words have different meanings in different situations. And it's important to try to relax without trying to learn every use of a word, because you're not going to remember it anyway. It's not a very natural way to learn. You would have to really spend, like what I'm talking about here so far, we've been talking about maybe 25 minutes about one word. And even one use of one word. And so we have like an example of a set of something, and then we talk about setting an alarm, so putting these things in the right place, getting them prepared for something like that. So as you get all of these examples, you have this idea of the word set, and you should be feeling more confident about using it in that way. All right. But again, there will be other, like if we talk about sunset, that's a different idea than like setting a watch. All right. But the point is not to try to get every use of the word set. It's more just to relax and listen to a whole bunch of different examples, and then really you can notice you go from exposure to awareness to ownership, where you really feel confident about it. So a set of rules, another good example of that, like we can have a physical thing like this, a set of markers, or we can have also a set of numbers, a set of rules, the same kind of thing. Okay? So don't feel bad if you learn a word and someone uses a different meaning of that word. That will happen sometimes. It's okay. But you should think, oh, here's a new use of that word. And now, to make sure I understand it, I should probably get even more examples of that use of the same word. All right? All right, good questions. I'll make sure I get all of these, and I'll give you a few more examples. This video probably won't take that long, but I wanted to just give you an example of how this works. Let's see, set the jelly. Yeah, that's another kind of thing where we talk about something like hardening. So we can talk about in a similar way, like to set, like concrete, C-R-E-T-E, concrete. So setting concrete or setting jelly, the same kind of thing where something hardens, all right? So we're talking about like we're turning the hands of a watch to set that watch, and now, oh, we get it right where we want it, the same kind of thing as like setting some concrete, all right? So we're letting something get hard, or we want to set something, like we want to set expectations, all right? So I want to tell people what they should be expecting for something, to set expectations. All right, same kind of idea. But all of these things, like you can see, we're trying to take something and prepare it in some way, making that thing hard, making sure everybody understands what that thing is. Okay, so we do all of these things in the same way. Like if I set an alarm, it would be that same alarm for everybody listening to that alarm clock. All right, let's see here. Search of sounds of American English, like I get to set up in my personal computer. Yeah, you got the idea. So I still don't know what set the girl is, but let me know what specifically you're talking about. All right, could you compare set and stuff? Yeah, actually a good example of set and stuff. Like if I just look at, let's say I have here's a tray with some things in it. So here's just some stuff in a tray. And when I call it stuff, it's because to me, there's no real like connection between these things. I could just say, well, here is like some bottle of like alcohol spray. Here is a paper towel in a bag. Here's some instructions, some magnets. Here's another marker. Marker is not as, I don't know, it's a little bit older than this other black marker I'm using here. So to me, if I just have a bunch of random things and I could put anything in here, I could put, like here's another bag I put in here or some other markers or something like that. So that's just some stuff. But I could call this my like teaching set. All right. So again, part of that is like how I think about it and if there's me kind of preparing this for something. So if I take like a container like this, a little tray, and I just close my eyes and put some different toys and things and some money and whatever, that's just stuff. But if I'm doing something with the particular goal, so I have a goal of putting all of these things together for like some future thing, that might be my teaching set. So I have my markers and my eraser and whatever else. This is like my set for doing work, okay? So you could have the same items in a container, and to one person it's just stuff, it's random items. But to another person, it's a set of something. So part of it is how you think about it, but again, it's that same idea of preparing something for something else. Okay, so I'm getting something ready. This is the set I use in order to teach. All right, so a good question. So you could have some stuff like, if I have like 3 markers like this, more people would call this a set because it's really the same thing. We've got a couple of different colors here. People would really think, wow, that's a set of markers, okay? Like if you go to a store and you ask for like a group like that, so I want to buy a set of markers or a set of pens or a set of notebooks or something like that. People would know we're talking about something like that. But if I go to a store and ask for a teacher set, people wouldn't really know what I'm talking about because, well, what kind of teaching or what specific tools do you need? But if I could explain something, well, I need an eraser and a marker and other things like that. That's my set for teaching, my set of things that I use for teaching. Okay, good question. All right, but again, hopefully people are getting this. You notice we're spending a lot of time talking about one word, but you also get lots of other words with that. So maybe you might think this is a little bit slower, we're just focusing on one thing, but really by understanding something really well, we can take this and then start applying that to other things. All right, I'll get back to those other questions. Let's see. Make sure we have, okay, all right. North Star said, greetings from China. Cam, again, good morning. Sorry I'm late. Don't worry about it. Set you up with my daughter. Yeah, so that to set someone up, it's a little bit different, but it's a similar kind of idea. So to set something with someone else, like I want to set you up, like I want you to go out on a date with my daughter. Let's see. Maya says, I hope you can teach me about English idioms. We have a bunch of videos about idioms. If you search my channel for that, and slang as well, we have videos about that. Of course, Fluent for Life covers all of these things. All right, so Eunice says, reset a phone. Advice means to turn it back to its first state. Yes, that's correct. So if we take something, and we could also mess it up or put it back to the way it was to reset something. So if I take these markers and maybe I use them in different places, I'm doing something with them, but then I reset them again. So I set them, and they go maybe in different places, or they get changed, and now I reset them. I'm putting them back together the way they were. Very good. The default settings. Prasanna says, hi, Drew. Very good morning. I am watching your live videos. You are a good teacher from Sri Lanka. Yeah, you could say a good teacher. Branca says, Branca, excuse me, your articulation is amazing. Well, that's a very kind thing to say. Nawfal says, what is the best way to gain more vocabulary? This is it. This is the best way to gain more vocabulary, because if you learn something the typical way, I'm going to get, maybe I try to learn 100 words in one day or something, or maybe 10 words, whatever. I get a translation and a definition and maybe a few examples. I'm not really feeling very confident about that vocabulary, typically. So the traditional English as a second language way, it seems like it's faster, but you're actually wasting your time because you're not really feeling very confident about what you know. And so you get the kind of awareness level of vocabulary. You go from exposure to awareness where you understand the vocabulary, and this is where you grow your passive vocabulary. That means you can understand a lot of vocabulary, but you don't really feel confident using a lot of it. Okay, so what we're trying to do here is we focus on one meaning of one word, or we take a few connected, related meanings, and we really try to understand that word very well. And then you become more fluent as you understand the vocabulary better, and that's when you start speaking. So your ability to communicate comes from how confident you feel about vocabulary. If you don't feel confident about something, you won't say it. You'll have that little voice in your head that's saying, oh, am I saying this the right way, or is my pronunciation incorrect? There are lots of little worries. Maybe I'm worried about other people. What will they think about my bad pronunciation or something if I use something incorrectly? So it's much better to spend your time focusing on something. The fluency comes from the focus. And that's where you really start to understand things better. And when you do that, you become a confident speaker. Let's see. A set of rules is, we got that one already. Yes, right. I understand set, so I can have the right idea set up and reset and so on. Aha moment. Yes, you got it. So set as a noun can mean a combination. Typically it means like, yes, there's some reason why these things are together. So the reason for these markers being together is maybe I can write with different colors at different times, okay? So if I just I could make a set out of anything if I create a connection between those things. But typically when we look at things that go together, like a spoon, a knife, and a fork, those all go together naturally as things like tools that we would use for a situation. So that's a set of something. But again, just like I gave the example of some different things in a box, I could have a set of those things if there's me like creating a connection between those things, or they are all tools that work together for some purpose. All right, but if it's just some random things and I haven't made any connection, I didn't decide anything or choose anything about that, it's just stuff, just random things together. All right. So set up first time I've caught you live. Welcome, Jimmy. Again, remember, if you don't watch the videos live, it's okay. Just watch them later. You can watch them anytime. Set a line. Thanks for your effort. Could you recommend a method to improve writing, like remembering words? I'm struggling with speaking. Words simply don't come out of my tongue. Yes, Adri, so this is typically the reason that people don't remember words, or they have trouble with writing, or in conversations they forget what they want to say. So they think they know vocabulary, but they really don't. If I get a definition of something, like let's say I get the word free in English and I want to translate that into Japanese, I could learn like muryō, which is like doesn't cost anything, or I could learn jiu, which is like, I can freely travel. It's two different things. And so rather than me trying to understand Japanese through English, I want to go directly to that word and get lots of different examples. So like, where would I hear the word muryō? Like, oh, I go to a store and I get something free. Like, ooh, muryō. Like, ooh, it doesn't have any price to it. It's free. So in that way, I'm learning the specific use of a word for that situation. And that's how we learn things as a native, rather than trying to learn things where we take a word and then get a definition of it that it's just very incomplete. You can see the difference here. Look at all of these different things that we're learning, and that helps us understand this core meaning of this usage of set, rather than me trying to get a word like set and then just get a definition or a translation in a different language. Okay? So the more connections we make, we're trying to make like a set out of the word set. Like all of these, this is like a set of examples of the word set. All right, if that makes sense. So as you're hearing these different examples, you should be thinking like, I'm understanding more. I should feel more confident about using this way of using set. Okay, so I'm not trying to teach every use of every meaning of set. We're just focusing on this one thing. And as people feel more confident, you can spread out or try to get other different examples. Well, a student might hear, well, I also heard set like sunset. It's like, oh, okay, well, we're kind of putting something down on something else. It's like, it's kind of related to this. You can see a little bit how the connection is made, but if you just begin with random definitions, it becomes more difficult and you don't really remember the word very well. All right. So I'm trying to show you how to do this systematically. We want to take the same word and the same kind of general meaning and then get lots of examples of that. Okay. And as we feel more confident, we can take like a physical example, like a set of markers, and then we can get a non-physical thing like a set of ideas. Okay, so maybe a government has a set of ideas, or I have a set of values. These are the things I believe, and they are all connected. A set of values in that way. Or I can choose something, I can set a time to do something, just like I can take something and set it on the table. So I'm preparing something for something else. All right, hopefully the wheels are spinning in your mind. I'm trying to basically set this, and I'll get to Annette's question, looks like now, I guess. Oh, actually, okay, I will. So talking about setting concrete, like if we take gel, like Jell-O, jelly, or concrete, when we mix it together, it's still wet, and it's not hard and formed into a particular shape. So as something hardens, we call that setting. So when we have like a cake or something, we have to let something sit for a while to get hard, and we call that setting. So to set something, like to set concrete, or we would say the concrete is setting right now. Or we can also call that curing, to cure the concrete. But that's a specific way we can use set, and it's similar to this, and we're trying to get something where it's going from maybe we don't know the specific form to something that is decided. And it's decided because it gets hard and the concrete is not going to change. So when we begin with concrete, that's why you see the concrete, like a concrete truck, or like a cement is the same thing, cement. So a cement mixer, you have a cement mixing, I'm gonna draw this is a cement mixing truck here. Usually it kind of looks like it's got kind of like a cylinder, like a thing that spins around on the back. And then that way the concrete can pour out, and it's kind of like a liquid. So it comes out, and it could be in any shape you like. So I could put the liquid into a heart shape or a square shape, or make it part of a road or something like that. So right now I'm just pouring it in there. I'm pouring the concrete, but then as it hardens, it sets. So we get it to choose a particular shape, and that's the shape we want it for a particular purpose. Okay, so just like we set an alarm, we set concrete, we set something like that, we're trying to get something that we want it in that particular shape or form or time or whatever, to set something. All right, Mama says explain homophones. Google that. Nothing to do with today's lesson, but again, that's the kind of thing Google can answer very quickly. All right, let me know, Annette, if that makes sense for you. It was all set up. Yes, or you can say it was all set up if you're talking about like a plan that was prepared in advance, like we're trying to catch some criminals or something, and they come into a place and they get caught, like it was a setup, so we set that thing up to catch those people. All right, the same way we would have a set, like a movie set. It's a particular place that we're trying to prepare for something. So to show a movie, whatever, we want to have the characters doing things. So we have a set or a setting, like the setting of a story. Where does it take place? Where does it happen? All right. Hopefully we got that though. I said, Richard says, my issue is that when I speak, I stumble a little bit and get flustered, then my mind goes blank. I want to speak quickly and fluently like you. Yes, and the way you do that, Richard, is by understanding English as a first language. All right, is really that simple. And if you stop learning English as a second language and you start learning it as a first language, like how I'm showing you here in this video, that's where you really feel confident. And you notice that you become confident in individual words and phrases as you understand them. This is why you can use some things fluently and some things not, because maybe you still have doubts about those things. So the fastest way to become a fluent speaker is to remove the doubts that stop you from speaking. Okay, let me say that again. The fastest way to become a fluent speaker is to remove or destroy or to delete whatever word you want to use. I like to say destroy because it's more powerful, but you destroy the doubts that stop you from speaking. So if you hear a word like set, you might think, okay, we have a set of markers, but then also like set an alarm. It's like a little bit different. It's kind of related, I guess. But as you hear more examples, you begin to make that connection, and it's a lot easier to understand, so you feel more confident about using it. You become fluent in this word, and that's why the title of this video is Getting Fluent in the Word Set. All right, so again, I can't really cover every use of every example, but you should get the idea that, look at that, we can take a word, understand a bunch of different examples, and really understand it like a native rather than just getting one example or one definition or one translation. All right? I think people are getting it though. Let's see. Eunice says, the wheels are spinning in my mind. All right. So you set my mind to think in English. Well done. Yes. So again, the same thing. So that's a very good example. I am trying to set that in mind, or set that in your mind, or set that way of thinking to set something in your mind in the same way. Very good. And the Portuguese over there, let's see. Are you watching Euro 2024? I don't know what that is. Is that like a soccer match or something? I understand. Thank you. Okay, glad to hear it. And Sam Crooks says, my wife put a feeder, a toy, and a diaper in a handbag while I was taking my kid to his grandma. Was that a set? Yes, it could be. So a set isn't just like chosen by magic. It's people who decide what something is. That's why when I set a watch, like I'm choosing that. So I'm setting the watch, it's my purpose, it's whatever I want it to be. I set an alarm for me. So I'm choosing something, I'm creating it, and I'm making it, I'm kind of like making it hard, for that example. So you can imagine the hands of a clock spinning around like this, but I set it at that time. I set that. All right, I'm making it that thing, I'm choosing what that is. And so I can take these markers and put them together as a set. I can still have individual markers, or if I am a mother and I think like, what is my baby set? So maybe I need a bottle and some diapers and some wipes or whatever your particular set is. Or maybe you have a doctor set, like in those like you go to a store and there will be little sets of toys. So little sets, maybe you have a little doctor bag, and inside that, what are some things you might have in a doctor's set? You might have like a stethoscope. This is that thing you put in your ears and you listen to like a heartbeat, a stethoscope. Or you might have that little like hammer looking thing where you can kind of tap people's knees. So you might have like little kids would get a set like this. Okay. So to have a collection of different things, and another person might just see, a bunch of items on a table, and they might not think anything about it. It doesn't seem like a set to them, but maybe someone else does. Okay. So I take this. So this tray of things is a set to me. Okay. Somebody else might just say, oh, it's some random things in a tray, but to me, it's a set. All right, so it's a set of things. I'm choosing that, and I'm preparing that for some future thing. But very good. Yes, you got the example correctly. Marceliana, excuse me, hello. I'm from Brazil. So set the table. Typically, we would say set the table. This is a good example of understanding phrasal verbs. I know people are asking about that, but let me show you something. This will be really cool, and this will help you understand like a native. Okay, watch this. This is going to be pretty cool. I know I get excited about this stuff because I like seeing people understand, but watch this. All right, I'm going to show you a difference. And again, when we're understanding things like natives, we don't want to get a translation or a definition. We want to really see the difference between two different things. So one of these, let's do set a table, and the other is set up a table. Make sure you can read that. Okay. All right, so what is the difference between to set a table and to set up a table? I want to teach you this because I see this example from students often, and I understand what they're trying to say, but because they're using the wrong English in the situation, I want to help you understand it like a native. All right, so when we have set a table, the table is already there. So here's our table, and we're going to put maybe a place setting for each person here. I'm going to set the table. So the table is already here. Now I'm setting the table. I'm putting things on here, preparing that for people coming to eat, probably. All right. But if I want to set up a table, I don't even have the table yet. All right. Maybe the table is in a box. Maybe the table, it's like one of those folding tables. So you have the little legs or something that are kind of folded down. I don't have an example of that with me, but like a folding table would be like that. Let me put this down so you can see better. Okay, I think that's a little better. Okay. So if we have, like, you imagine a folding table, I need to set up the table. So that means I'm going to take the table and actually, put the table where it should be. I'm going to get the legs where they should be, and now I'm setting up the table. Okay? So when we use set up something, this is different from setting something that's already finished. Okay, so I'm going to set up a table. I want to set up something just like I'm setting up a phone. It's like, the phone is kind of like I can't use it yet because it hasn't been set up. Like I can't, I don't know what my code is or like some other settings about the phone. So I'm setting up my phone for the first time. So you can see these are similar. They're similar. One is set, like I'm going to take something. The table is already there, but now I'm preparing things on the table or for the table. But here I have to set up the table itself, meaning I have to unfold the table. I have to put the table where it is. That is to set up a table. Set up a table. All right? Pretty good. So the same thing, like if I want to set maybe some things on the table, that's different from like setting up that thing. So if I'm going camping and I have a tent, which one of these am I going to do? Am I going to set the tent or am I going to set up the tent? So I'm going camping, I have this like tent in a bag, which one would I do? Would I set up the tent or would I set the tent? All right, I'll give people a second to answer that, but hopefully this explanation makes it a bit more clear. If I have a table already ready, and now, okay, I'm going to put some things on the table, I am setting the table, okay? But if I have a tent or something, so the tent, we'll just say the tent is in a bag. It's kind of rolled up. We have some little tent poles in there as well. So yes, I would set up a tent. Okay? Same idea. So to set a table, we're taking something that's already prepared, and to set up a table, now we have to get that thing ready where it should be. All right? But you notice, like, it's much easier to compare the difference in English and understand it as a first language than to try to get some translations. Isn't it? Isn't it? All right. Click that like button if it is, if you understand what I'm saying. But that's the basic idea of understanding something like a native so you use it fluently. All right. So hopefully, after you see this, the difference between setting a table and setting up a table, it should be more clear. Okay, if we're taking something, like if I have something in a box, if I'm going to a show and I need to like build something, I am setting that thing up. I'm setting it up. So it's similar idea of set, but I'm setting it up. I'm preparing it in some way rather than just like putting it there. So if I set a tent, it means I'm just going to take this tent and put it someplace. But if I'm setting it up, I have to build that thing or make it. All right, lots of little thumbs ups over here. Let's see if I had any. Another example here I wanted to give, which is a more like idiomatic use of this, And again, you can find these in the description below this video. And this is like have a like set in stone. Now make sure, now I'm gonna have to raise this up so people can see the top of the screen again. Actually, better yet, let me just erase some of this. So you will hear this is a very common English expression to talk about something being set. Set in stone. All right, so when something is set in stone, it means it's really locked in there tight, the same way we would have like set concrete. So when people have a rule for their company and they say, well, the rule is not set in stone, it means maybe we can change the rule or say something different or do something different with that. But if something is set in stone, like we take some like hard rock and we're going to write the rules or chisel the words, you know, inside that rock, well, those rules are set in stone, like the 10 Commandments, you know, that kind of thing. So if something is set in stone, that means, okay, we're going to have something like it's not going to change. So it's set in stone. So not just set, but set in stone. So the rules of this company are set in stone. Or you can talk about something being a bit more flexible and saying it is not set in stone. Set in stone. All right, looks like we have a few last questions here. So set up the tent, Lewis has it. Benoit, what is the difference between the set the table and laid the table? Yeah, both of those are fine. So you can, if we talk about like asking someone to lay the table, it's a slightly older expression, but people will likely understand that, especially adults. So kids, typically we use set the table. So again, it's the same kind of thing, like we're going to set the table. Like if I'm holding a table and I don't know where, like I'm going to put it someplace, I can physically set the table down, like, or set the table in a particular place. But usually we're talking about setting the table as putting table like a place setting on that table. So we have some chairs and dishes and bowls and silverware, things like that when we're setting the table. So you can say, please lay the table, that's fine, but set is much more common. And when you ever have questions like this, if you search them in Google and see which one gives you more examples. So if I search set the table versus lay the table, I will probably get more hits for set the table. So that's a way you can check which is much more common. But it will also show you examples that, again, people say different things for the same situation. So that happens as well. Let's see. And Mohammed says, set out. Yes, so that is another phrasal verb where we are beginning to take a trip. All right. Wesam says, could I say, don't set me up? Yes, so you can use this if you don't want people to trick you or, you know, they're trying to trap you in some situation. Yeah, so you would, that's using it correctly. So set out, yes, again, that same example. All right, I think people are getting it though. Now, pay attention because I know we're focusing on just one thing, but I really want to make it clear we're actually getting lots of different uses. We're really feeling much more confident about that. Let me know if you are feeling more fluent and you understand this word better now. Let me know. Has this video been helpful for you? Has it been helpful to take one thing and just really understand it much better? Now, we could continue to go deeper. There are always more examples you can get, but hopefully this video proves that if you spend more time and you really try to understand something like a native, you will feel much more confident using it. All right, hopefully I've made my point. But let me know. Again, I want to make sure you understand things well, that everybody is getting it. All right, Mohammed says, explain slowly. After the video is finished, you can also go back and watch it at a different speed. Set someone up with another person, like a date. Yes, that is a different example of setting something up. So if I want to set a person up with someone else, to set someone, so set X person up with someone else, like with Y. So set John up with Sally. Okay. Set someone up with someone else. Set me up. So maybe I went on a blind date. So a friend of mine set me up on a blind date with someone else. is settlement related to set? Yes, so it's a similar kind of thing. We also have like the settlement of people like living in a particular place. So they go and then they kind of choose a place and they start to settle there. But it's also the same kind of thing like concrete. So again, we have something that could move around. It's a bit more flexible, but over time it settles. And so it hardens into a particular thing. Let's see, can we say set in, set on, or set at? So can we say set in? Well, I mean, these would be different things, and it's better rather than just trying to give a whole bunch of explanations for each phrasal verb. I would Google those and see what you get. But yes, you can say particular things, and you'll see what's correct and what's not. And often Google will even tell you like. It will give you examples of what maybe you were trying to search for and what you're what you're actually saying. So you can get both of those. But like for an example, like set in, if I'm young, I can be more flexible and change the way I think or change the things I do. But as I get older, I become, like you can say, I'm set in my ways. I am set in my ways. It just means like the things I do or the beliefs I have, it's hardened like concrete. So when I'm young, it's flexible, it's easy to move around, but over time now I am set in that thing. It's like I am set in that particular shape. All right, so the things I believe, I'm set in my ways. Set in my ways. All right, so again, lots of good examples where you understand things a little bit better, lots of good questions, and as you ask more questions, then again, these are removing the doubt. So these are good things as you continue to ask more questions. So if you don't have me here or you're not in Fluent for Life or whatever, you can always, again, search Google or ChatGPT, but if you don't feel confident about something, get the answers to those questions. All right, make sure you understand whatever that thing is. You will feel much more confident about using it. Estudo says, thank you for these awesome lessons, Teacher Joe. It's my pleasure. So set became easy to use now. Moreover, the past tense is also set. Yeah. So like this is one of those easy words where like I will set the alarm, or I did set the alarm, or I am setting the alarm. Really, the only thing is just what's happening right now. But yes, your set of English sessions is amazing. Yep, another good example. Very good. Abdullah says, yes, it's so clear and understandable explanation. Here you would say, now this is another tricky thing. I won't really cover it in this video, but if we want to say your explanation is so clear, you can say that. Or you can say you have such a clear explanation. Such a clear explanation. And you could probably find many videos about so and such in YouTube, like different YouTube videos. My channel might even cover them as well, I think. But we also do this again in Fluent for Life. So I was set my heart on learning the English language. Yes, so if you want to set your heart on a particular thing, just like you set your alarm. All right, so you're choosing something, you're preparing that thing for the future in some way. All right, why is not setting because of why is not setting? Give me more information, Rock. I don't know what you're asking about. But hopefully this makes sense. Let me see if I missed anything. I think everybody, I think we got through all these. And as you get more examples, we've already had many good examples from people like to set your heart to, like, my child has his heart set on getting a dog. My child has his heart set on getting a dog. My child has his heart set on getting a dog, or her heart is set on a particular thing. So you can have an alarm set, or your heart set, or your mind is set. Like if I set my mind to do something, it means I'm choosing it. I'm like switching my mind to this setting. So I'm not going to be lazy. I'm going to set my mind to accomplishing something. So I set my mind to a goal. All right, so I set my direction, set my mind, set my heart, set my vision, set my eyes on something. All these very useful, very common examples of set, same kind of thing. All right, but remember, you may hear different meanings of set, like in some other situation. Don't get mad, just say, oh, like, look at that. Here's a different use of set. Maybe I should get some more examples of that as well. All right, but this is how you build it up like a native. So you will learn something and then you feel confident about it, and then maybe you learn something new and you're thinking, oh, I'm a little bit surprised about this new meaning of that word, but that's fine, that's normal, and that's how natives will learn the language. All right, so I know as an adult learner, people typically want to get every use of everything and try to understand that, but then they usually don't remember all of the things they learn. So try not to do that. Try to get more examples of things until you really feel confident, and then start getting additional things, additional uses, or new words. So be verb with ving. Why is not setting? Well, if you're talking about doing something, if you're talking about doing something at a particular time, like I am setting my alarm, I'm doing that right now. So yes, it works like a regular verb. Elder says, "Sup, Drew? Long time no see. Let's see. Nice to hear you. Thanks a bunch. You got to put more punctuation in there. I'm trying to read that as one sentence. Nice to hear from you, though." Novel says, "I'm so happy I can understand 90% of your speech, but I can't write and speak well." It's okay. It begins with understanding. You get lots of examples, and then that will really make you feel more confident over time. I promise you, if you get more examples, if you understand the language better, you will speak it better. I promise you, all right? If you just take a word like set and you get a definition and you try to repeat the word set, the repetition is not going to help you. This is going to help you over here, getting lots of examples. All right, I think we're almost finished. Teacher, why these words set, get, or take have many meanings? English is difficult. Yes, well, some meanings, they could be coming from different languages, or they just have, they're so commonly used. Maybe people start using them in different ways, or they have different meanings of them. And generally, words have kind of fewer meanings than most people think. It just, if you learn them like a native, you start to get the core meanings of words, and it's usually easier to understand them that way. So yes, words will often have multiple meanings, and I think many languages are probably like that. I don't know about every language, but typically languages, like it's the same thing in Japanese, where I'll hear a word and it could mean different things depending on the situation. And that's because we learn for a situation. So we learn a meaning of a word for that situation, rather than, just trying to memorize a bunch of definitions or translations of something. So yes, it is. It can be a pain in the ass, but it becomes a lot easier to understand things if you get them in a structured way like this and really understand things and how they're connected. All right. So things are typically more connected than people might think. And Daisy, oh, that's interesting spelling of that. How difficult are those words that you just said in your example? Her, heart of her. Well, the words are very simple, but again, you notice I'm taking simple words but using them in a more advanced way. So we don't need to learn advanced vocabulary to be a confident speaker or to express difficult things. We can just know how to use the words really well. All right, so that's another reason why we do this. So like I'm set in my ways, or like, let's see here. So I have my heart set on something. So I have my heart set on you. Like I'm focused on you. You are the thing I want, so my heart is set on you. Or I have my heart set on getting a job in France. Okay? So you could really put anything in here, or I have my heart set on doing something, like getting a job, or I have my heart set on getting this dog for Christmas or something. All right? Or we could make it past, or we could even make it the future, but typically like it's talking about the future anyway. When we're using to be your heart set on something, like my focus is on that thing. All right. Now instead of using heart, you can use mind. Same idea. Typically heart it's like a little bit more romantic, or thinking about love or something like that, but you could use both. So I have my heart set on something, or my mind set on something. And that's why people also talk about changing their mind or changing their heart. Thanks, Teacher Drew. Goodbye. All right, and Abdullah says, is reading articles online helpful for word improvement rather than getting examples? Well, like if you read 10 articles online about the same thing, then that would probably be pretty helpful. So that would give you naturally varied review where you would get different examples of things, but they would be in context. So articles are good, but again, you want to be systematic about how you learn. And then, if you think about how you would learn things to remember them. If I read 10 random articles, one article is about how to raise a chicken. Another article is about how to bake bread. There will be fewer words that are used in both of those articles. But if I read 10 articles that are about how to feed your chickens the right way, then I will probably feel pretty confident about learning and using those words. So again, focus is typically better. Focus, but getting varied review about that thing. Let's see. And Daisy said, I mean, her heart for me is almost the same pronunciation. Her heart. You should get Frederick. That's an app that will help you understand the sounds and hear these differences between similar things. So that's an app. You can click on the link in the description in the link below this, or click on the link in the description below this video. So click on the link in the description below this video for Frederick. Same thing for Fluent for Life. So if you hear her and heart as the same thing, then you need practice with your listening to make sure you can tell the difference between sounds like that. Sam Crook says, we bought a bike. We can set it up at the shop. So I can say, can I say we can do the setup at home? Yes. So that's fine. So you can set up the bike at a shop or set up the bike at home. That's fine. Or I can take the bike and set it somewhere. That means I'm going to take the already completed bike and put it maybe on a table or in my garage. That's where I'm going to set something. Say my name. Hello, I remember that song, George Harrison, Got My Mind Set on You. Yes, so set on you is the same kind of thing. All right. So here where you're getting like music is kind of the last step because it's typically more difficult uses of words, but it's the same thing. So my mind is set on you. I got my mind set. Yeah, that's a George Harrison, yeah. Game Money says, can we use an S in singular noun, like a singular noun, like teacher and teachers, even if it's single? What's the difference? I don't understand your question. You mean if you're talking about one person or a possessive, like it is the teacher's thing, like this is the teacher's marker, like it's my marker. So one person with a apostrophe S like that would be possessive. So that's different from singular and plural. Westham says, I set English learning up with my joy feeling to remove my doubt and fear. Yeah, that's a more, I understand what you're trying to say. It's kind of, it's better to begin, especially when you're making some sentences using something like that. Take an example that I'm already giving you and change it just a little bit. All right, so I'm set on something. You can use that like I'm set on learning English or set on, understanding things very well. So to be set on and doing something. Hello, everyone. How to be advanced in English. I think I'm good on it, but sometimes when I podcast about different topic, I can't understand all conversation. Yeah, so based on the errors in your English, I would say you need to understand the basics better by getting more examples of things. If you watch my videos a lot, you will hear this comment again and again because it's like the number one thing that people must do, but they don't want to do it. And I don't know why they don't want to do it. I mean, like the main reason people don't want to do it is they think they understand something, but they don't realize that they don't understand it well enough. They still have some kind of doubt about that thing. All right. So try to understand the language better. And if you have lots of errors in your writing, you probably have lots of errors in your spoken communication as well. We often get, questions from learners. They're like, well, look, it's set. Like, that's an easy word. All right. Well, do you feel confident using it in all these different ways that I've just taught you? If you do, then great. You probably don't need any lessons. But if you don't, then you should focus more on the word. And even if you know this word, there are probably other ones you don't know. So the goal is really to spend a lot of time understanding things well, and that's what's going to help you become a confident speaker. All right, you are always on my mind. Yes, same idea. So you can think about something like that. You're always on my mind. People will typically talk about being on my mind or in my heart. All right, we don't really talk about being like like on my heart. If you're on my heart, it's more like you're like sitting on my chest or something like that. So you're in my heart and on my mind. All right, even though you're not sitting on my head either. That's how we think about it. Rocky. Do you say I will put my mind set on learning English? No, you would just say like I will set my mind to learning English. Or you could say I set my mind on learning English as well. Both of those are fine. Hey teacher, are you still living in Japan? Yes, I am. Set a date? Yes, you got that same example. Yes, I meant articles about the same topic like robotic surgery. Yes, if you read a bunch of articles about that, it's going to help you. But you should also listen to videos about people doing robotic surgery. So you need to hear different examples as well. And that will be a bit more challenging, but that will also help you become more fluent. I meant setup can be a noun. Well, yes, it would be like a setup. Set up. Usually, like it'll have like a dash there, like a compound word, like a phrasal noun or whatever. Game money, for example, the teachers has the best ability to explain lessons better. While if you remove the S, does the meaning change? Well, you wouldn't say the teachers has. You would just say the teacher has. There's nothing possessive about that. So the teacher has. Remind all time no smoking. Thank you, says Blanca. And let's see. Good morning from India. Where are you now? I'm in Nagasaki, Japan, and helping people understand the word set. If this video has been useful for you, do click the like button and let other people know. I know people might think they already know a word, so I'm encouraging you to be the kind of learner that spends more time with vocabulary. You want to make it really a good friend of yours. You want to own that word, not just to know it a little bit or have a translation of the word. If you don't feel confident, spend more time with the vocabulary, and I promise you will become a more confident speaker. So you don't need to spend a lot of time practicing with other people or finding a practice partner or talking online or whatever. Spend your time getting many more examples of things. How to start to learn Japanese nowadays. I'm doing Duolingo. I don't recommend Duolingo. I don't really know much about it, but I'm not familiar with anybody who's become fluent using Duolingo. But if you just want to get some examples, my problem with Duolingo is that the whole point of it is like it's like Duolingo, like you have two languages, and that implies translation. And so it's typically like the app could be a good format for that, but it needs to give you more control, like we do in Frederick, to really help you understand how to combine words in different ways. But I don't know if Duolingo is helpful for you, then use it. But I've not from the little I've played around with it, it hasn't been useful for me. Game money, is possessive important in statement? Well, yes. I mean, in general, like using the possessive, yes. Estudo says, my friend set me up with my boss for getting late. He blamed me for getting late. You'd say like my friend set me up to be late, or my friend set me up to be late. If you say my friend set me up with my boss, it sounds like you're going out on a date with your boss. So my friend set me up to be late. The toy says Duolingo is a waste of time. Okay, there you go. So I don't know for sure. I haven't spent like a lot of time with it. Give me the reason why. I understand all you say in this live, but when I listen to different videos or live, I want to understand. I can't understand some words. It's because I'm explaining myself clearly and with simpler vocabulary, and I'm not using movie quotes or other things like that. So I'm intentionally being understandable to get you to that first level of learning English as a first language. But if you spend more time, you need to get examples also with native speakers who don't speak as clearly as I do. All right, so this is what we do in Fluent for Life. So it's a series of steps where the first one is just understanding things, making sure you can hear it clearly. Then we start giving you different examples or different situations, different vocabulary, different speakers, different speeds, and all of this, what I call naturally varied review, is what's going to get you fluent. All right, so if you can understand me but not understand other people, then you need to either join us or figure out just a way to do that by yourself. And I've explained some ways already to do that. All right, Muddy says, I have an issue. Although my English is good, when it comes to getting very important messages, I have to translate them into my language. What do you call this? Is it a lack of confidence? Yes. So you have some kind of doubt about the vocabulary, or you think, okay, I don't want to mess this up. This is an important thing to say. Let me get a translation of this. So yes, it means you have some kind of doubt about that thing. Nomad says, if you give me one tip to learn Japanese language, what would it be? It would be same thing I'm doing in English. Learn Japanese as a first language. Learn Japanese as a first language. So the reason I'm teaching English as a first language now to people is because I got fluent in Japanese when I started learning Japanese as a first language. All right. Thanks very much, big teacher. I don't think it's kind of... okay, you're talking about the... Duolingo. Give me some plan to learn Germany, or you mean German by a smart way. Same thing. Learn German in German. That's what you should do. Can you recommend some books to learn English or Japanese, anything, article, just to give it a just watch the videos on my channel. It'll explain everything. If you can understand me and what I'm saying right now, you don't need special books or anything. Just watch my videos and you will become more confident in English because I'm making the language more understandable. Now, if you want to take that to the next level where you can really have good conversations with people, you still need to get lots of examples of natives actually speaking. And so natives talking to other natives, getting those good examples of natives really speaking, that's what's going to help you become a really confident speaker. But you need to get those examples from somewhere. How's the weather in Japan? We just started the rainy season. Hi from Canada. My first language is Portuguese. And I'm going to mine fluency in English. All right. Do you think bartender is a good career option in Japan? I guess, if you can get one. I mean, if nothing else, it's a good way to talk with people. That's if I was doing that. What's your reason for learning Japanese? I came to Japan to study Japanese gardening, and I wanted to be able to speak the language because I couldn't talk with anybody who was doing gardening, so I needed to do it. That's why I learned Japanese. Can R be pronounced as in wabbit? Badly, it could be. You know, if you're like Elmer Fudd chasing wabbits, but you know, some people, unless they have a speech problem and they can't pronounce it correctly that way, but you wouldn't normally pronounce the word R like that. Homer says, please, what's the best method to learn English? Just watch this video again. I just explained it. Give my regards to my friend and say to her you will be better in this language. Japanese language has so many words, sir, it's hard to learn. Well, English has a lot of words also. You focus on something, get fluent in that, and then you take another step. We say, how do you eat a whale? How do you eat a whale? You know, a whale. Like if I have this giant... You know, this is a bad picture of a whale. Here's a whale. It's supposed to be a whale. I don't know why I drew it like that. But yes, this is a whale. So how do you eat a whale? One bite at a time. One bite at a time. So you can't just eat the whole thing. Of course, the whale is giant. But you do what you can with what you have. So you just start and keep going. That's how you do it. All right. Ranvijay says, nice, game money, that's pretty. How you're doing so far in Japanese? Oh, zenzen daijoubu yo. Yoku shabereru yo. I can speak just fine. Thoughts on Steven Pinker? I don't know so much about Steven Pinker and learning languages, but I don't know. If he's talking about what I'm talking about, then he sounds like a smart guy, but I don't know. No idea. Oh, and Tsubasa back with the DAP. There you go. Estudo says, teacher, are you from New York? Because I guess your accent sounds like someone from New York. Actually, it doesn't really sound like a New York accent, but no, I'm from Chicago. When are you going to start teaching Japanese language, sir? Now, I wouldn't teach Japanese. There are already plenty of people teaching Japanese. I don't know who teaches it like I teach English, but there are certainly plenty of people who teach Japanese. And you don't even need really teachers. I mean, you just get lots of examples the same way children are learning. All right, and look at that, Annette. Yes, my whale picture. My drawing is really not this bad, but I'm trying to be very quick for these. All right, Wesam says, my mind set me up. You are Tom Hanks's brother because you also have the same sound. Also. You can say my mind, like my mind, my mind. My mind is set. You can say my mind is set or my mind is fixed. You sound like Tom Hanks's brother. You could say that. How did you shift? So you'd say, how did you shift your mind to first language learning? Well, it was an easy decision because learning Japanese as a second language was not working for me. So I said, I can continue to do this or I can stop and do something much easier. So I spent 15 years failing to learn different languages. So I had to try to learn Latin and then Spanish and French. Actually, it was French and then Spanish and then Japanese when I came to Japan. And I failed all 4 times because I was trying to learn the same way. And once I looked at kids and saw, oh, the kids are just learning Japanese in Japanese. I should try that too. And then I thought, okay, let me try that. I know like the thing I'm doing now is not working. I'm not becoming a confident speaker. I'm learning a little bit. I'm understanding a little bit, but I don't feel confident at all having conversations. And so once I changed the way I learn, it was an easy decision to do that. And the learning is much more fun and enjoyable, and I have lots of fun. It's just lots of fun now that I can have conversations with people. Like I was at an Oktoberfest here in Nagasaki over the weekend and went with a friend of mine, and we're talking with just different random people over there, and I can have fine conversations and make jokes and all kinds of things like that in Japanese without worrying about it. But I was not able to do that before when I was learning Japanese as a second language. What do you think of Reader's Digest? Is it a good magazine for learning English? I think Reader's Digest is a little bit easier, but if it's helpful for you, the important thing is, do you enjoy the content and is it at a good level for you? You should understand at least 80 to 90% of what you read. That way you're not trying to look in a dictionary or get translations of things. You can understand new information within the context of what you're reading. But yeah, if you enjoy Reader's Digest, like there are lots of ways to get fluent, but the point is it's the same way you would learn things in your native language. So if you like learning about pets, then you probably watch YouTube videos about pets, or you watch, TV shows about pets in your native language. Just do that in English. That's how you do it. All right. And the more systematic you can be about it, the better. I mean, that's going to get you fluent faster. Do you teach English classes other than YouTube? So yes, like the things that we do on YouTube is really just explaining the principles about language learning, and we get new people coming to the channel all the time. So it's important for me to repeat these lessons. Even the veterans of the channel will hear me repeat these things again and again. But Fluent for Life is where we have everything laid out for people who want to get fluent systematically. So I get you fluent in Fluent for Life just by the way the information is presented, the same way I'm kind of doing things here, but we go into a lot more detail, and we actually show you how native speakers are using these things in different situations. So that's the actual program. If you'd like to learn more about that. So it is possible for you to do these things by yourself, but for people who don't want to waste time trying to find good content and organize the content, that's what we do in Fluent for Life. So if you want to get fluent faster for your career or life or whatever, that's what we'll do. We can help you with that. When are you going to use us or teach us how to use Get? I made a video about that already. Check the YouTube channel for Get. I think I have a few videos about Get. Solar T, what do you think is the best way to teach someone English if they have really basic level and you want them to acquire the language rather than learn it through grammar? Well, you just make the examples very simple. If you look at the best beginning English grammar playlist on our channel. So I made this years ago because that was one of the first things I wanted to make for the channel, which is an actual series that shows people how to learn English in English. And so the first thing I do, the very first lesson is like eye, eyes, ear, ears. And it's teaching you automatically, oh, look, in English we have, like we put a little sound if we're talking about more than one. Finger, fingers. So without using explanations, I do have maybe some like grammar rules in there for people who just want to know what those are. But the actual video will just teach you everything in English. So if you want to see how to do that the same way a native would teach, just watch that series. Nehomer, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Nehomer. You're my inspiration for my thesis that I'm working on, you'll be working on here in Venezuela. God bless you. All my students listen all your videos. Oh, are you an English teacher? Your like your inspiration for your thesis? What is the thesis about? Sam Crook says, thanks a million. Now I can use set loudly and proudly. Very good. And Lahoma says, what will be your best advice to speak English like a native? It's the same thing I say all the time. Learn English as a first language. That's how you want to do it. So if you, the most basic understanding is how you learn is how you speak. So if you have trouble understanding and you're spending time with translations and you're studying rules but you don't really understand them very well, then of course you will struggle to speak, because how you learn is how you speak. But if you understand something, then like you will be able to use it fluently. Okay, so I can speak well about this topic because I know about this topic. I can't speak well about how to make, I don't even know how to make ice cream. I couldn't do like a lesson about that. But if I watched a bunch of videos about that particular topic, I would get pretty good about that. Let's see, Abdul again. Could you recommend a method for learning English with Spanish without forgetting or confusing? I don't understand learning English with Spanish. You mean, well, I would just learn them separately. So learn Spanish in Spanish, if that's what you mean, and learn English in English. What city are you in right now? You mean which city are you in right now? I am in Nagasaki. Prasanna says, hi, Drew. You are very handsome now from, from Sri Lanka. Glad to hear it. Yes, always happy to be handsome. Love from India, sir. Fingers. Yep. So that, again, when you're teaching children, you don't sit and say, well, today we're going to do singular and plural and try to explain all that. You just say finger, fingers, ear, ears, eye, and then you're asking them, like, what do you think it's going to be? And then they're like, oh, they anticipate the pattern, they say it correctly, and they feel confident about using it. Like, oh, I got it. Now, sometimes there will be cases where the rule is broken, but, you know, most of the time the rules work. And so it's easy for them to get an understanding of how the rules work, and then they can start learning things that break the rules, okay? So if we have, like, ED words like talk, talked, walk, walked, but go, and then the child says goed, and we say, no, it's actually went. And they're like, what? Why would you do that? You know? So even native speakers are, you know, they might be, I don't know, angry or frustrated with some of the weird things about English, but usually they can learn it pretty easily. But it's much faster and easier to learn it if you learn it in English. All right, Ben Wang again, is reading the only way to improve English? No. Why would people think that? Like, I mean, think about language learning 200 years ago, or 400 years ago, or 1,000 years ago. So, like, people have been learning and speaking languages since before there was any reading or books or anything like that. So those things are helpful, but they're certainly not necessary. And you know, many people can be able to speak a language but not be able to read a language. All right. So, I mean, like, books and things like that are helpful, but I don't see why people would think like that's the only way to read or the only way to learn a language, because that has not been true for most of history. So being able to read is like a new thing, relatively. But yes, so you should be reading, writing, listening, speaking, like all of those things. Danico says, you are the best man. Greetings from Argentina. Glad to hear it. I want to learn advanced learning, sir. No, focus on the basics. Stop doing that advanced stuff. I know people think they want that, but actually the more advanced thing is to understand more difficult uses of basic vocabulary. All right, the time with you is great. Glad to hear it. Beside teaching, what would you do, sir? What do you mean? Like, what do I do with my time or whatever? I can't agree with him. He said that it is okay to translate the word when you're reading books. Yes, if you are reading something and you have to get translations, you probably don't know that information very well. You should go back to reading something at a lower level that you can understand. What's your favorite English book? My favorite English book. You mean just like a book in English? I I don't know. I guess I have like a few different books I enjoy, but I've talked about, let's see, what have I talked about on this channel though? Well, I talked about The Cat in the Hat. I talked about that. I talked about The Richest Man in Babylon. That's a great book that I recommend. I meant learning 2 languages separately at the same time. Yes, you could do that, but it might be a little bit tricky for you. Teacher, why do people pronounce Chicago like Chicago instead of Chicago, like the CH Chicago? Check. Well, that's just the way the pronunciation is now. So I think the old pronunciation came from the English, or it was like some Indian word, like a Native American word, like onion, Chicago. That was and I don't know if that's true. I've heard that's the story of where the name came from. So like Chicago means wild onion. So I don't know if that's true or not. You can Google that, but I think that pronunciation of that was actually Chicago, but it became Chicago. How to speak like Ben Shapiro. Well, I know, just as I watch Ben Shapiro. That's how he speaks. If you like pay attention to how he speaks, you can start speaking like him. Just like me and most people. I'm not doing a very good impression of him. But if you want to speak like somebody, spend a lot of time watching them and try to mimic the way they sound. And there you go. So I'm 22-year-old. Can I learn Japanese or German fluently? Sure, why not? I'm 40. How old am I? 43. And yeah, so I'm still learning. I'm learning new things all the time. All right. Well, I'll leave it here. It's been, oh my goodness, like 90 minutes. I didn't think, look at that. We spent 90 minutes talking a lot about the word set, but hopefully people are understanding. You would say, do you know Allison? No, I don't know. There are lots of Allisons. I have no idea. But anyway, hopefully people have enjoyed this. If you have, click on that like button. Do share the video. Let other people know that you should be watching this if you want to learn English and speak English more confidently. So get something, focus on it, clear the doubt, destroy the doubt, and that's what's going to help you become a confident speaker much faster. All right, I will see you in the next video. Have a great day. If you'd like to learn more, you can also click on the links in the description below this video, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.